friends, welcome to our channel. Welcome back. If you've been watching previously, we're excited today to talk about how we choose what books we're going to read. What are we going to read next? How do we handle our ever-growing TBR, our to-be-read list? But yeah, this is something that I guess even still we don't necessarily have a grasp on, but these are some points. We have 5 points that might help you. These are ways that help us decide what are we going to read next whenever we finish our current book.
Right. So you mentioned TBRs are always ever growing. There's so many books out there that you might be interested in or that might catch your eye that you want to get into, but I mean, how do you do that? How do you go about reading the next book, right? How do you make those decisions? As for me, I struggle with choice paralysis, and that means I go to a restaurant that I've never been before, and I'll spend longer choosing what I want to eat than I do eating. And most of the time, honestly, since I know that about me, I will look up the menu 30 minutes before we go to the restaurant and spend that entire time trying to decide what I want to eat.
Because there's so many good things.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, my whole family has that issue.
Well, just trying to get your family to decide on a restaurant is the first decision to be made.
Yeah,
and then getting there and then deciding what you want there, just...
So all that being said, how in the world do I or we pick what we're going to read? So first, we read multiple books. It feels like, for me, I'm not having to commit to one book and only that book until I finish it, you know? I've become somewhat of a mood reader, and I will declare being a mood reader, meaning that if I'm in the mood for a certain story, I will find a book with that story. If I'm not in the mood for that story, I'm not going to read that story. I'll go do something else, read something else, watch something else, you know, stuff like that. It gives you that, plus it gives you a variety of stories, of worlds, because The Wheel of Time is 15 books long if you count New Spring. And so I would not have the attention span to stay in one world for 15 books.
Yeah.
And so reading multiple books allows me to read a Wheel of Time book alongside just a general fiction, like a literary fiction or a contemporary novel. And I'm able to disengage from this world a little bit and spend some time in this other one that, so I'm not going to get burnt out on this one.
Yeah, it just brings you variety.
Right. And there are different draws that books have for you. It could be the plot seems really intriguing, or you really love a certain character. And you could love the plot of the Game of Thrones and love
A Court of Thorns and Roses.
A Court of Thorns and Roses character. That's what she's reading right now.
So I'm reading both those books right now, and I'm currently while I'm reading A Storm of Swords, I'm oh my gosh, I'm gonna read this book and finish it. But then this morning I read 2 chapters out of A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm I have to read this book today and finish it. And now I want to read both books today and finish both of them. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm probably honestly going to finish A Court of Mist and Fury because I read those chapters this morning, so right now my brain's on that.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I'll pick up A Storm of Swords.
So, multiple books at the same time, number 1. Number 2.
Number 2, multiple formats. So this is something that I'm new to. So I guess prior to 2020, I only read physical books. I had listened to one Audible before, and that was in college whenever I had to read Heart of Darkness for the 3rd time for a separate class. I was I'm not reading this again. So I listened to it. And then in 2020, I started reading some books on Kindle on my phone. So then I added in digital books, not just physical books. And then more recently, I started listening to books more as well. And so what I do with Audibles is that I will listen to it sometimes, but then I like to also, it's more money, but I like to also pick up the physical copy also, so that whenever I'm not driving or in the office, and that's when I'm listening to the book, but when I'm at home, I can sit down and actually read it and catch up that way. Yeah. But giving yourself multiple formats allows you to consume in different ways, because when I'm driving, it will be dangerous to read a physical book or read on my phone or on a Kindle or something like that.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, it's not a preferred thing. But we listen to the radio when we're in the car, so why can't we listen to books? And before, I feel like I was one of those people that were like, listening isn't really the same as a reading. But I recently heard a speaker say that before the printing press, that's how stories were consumed. That's how people passed on stories, was verbally. So I was like, that's true. I was like, Audible counts as listening to reading books because you're consuming the story, just somebody's reading it to you. And we do that to kids all the time, right? And that counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but multiple formats. What do you have to say about it?
I think that it adds a layer of convenience.
Yeah.
Because if you, I mean, I don't have the desire or capacity to take, let's say, a Brandon Sanderson book. We'll take the Oathbringer. It's bigger. I don't have a backpack that's going to fit this and not damage it. You know, I mean, this is a big book. This is what you would call a chunker. And if I put this in a backpack, it's going to get damaged. The pages are going to fold. The corners are going to fold, and it's not going to keep the way that I want it to. And so if I have this on Kindle, all I have to do is take my phone with the Kindle app or my actual Kindle, my Kindle device, and I can take that everywhere I go. I mean, it fits in my back pocket of my jeans. I don't keep it there, but it's small.
Pretty good.
It has a smaller footprint. It's more convenient. It's a lot easier to take than an actual 1,200 page behemoth.
Is that how many pages?
Everywhere that you go. Yeah, it's over 1,200. And so it just adds a layer of convenience for you. You can. I know that if you live in a metropolitan city and you take public transportation like the subway, a train, or a bus or something, I know that a lot of people will take a book with them and that's their commute book. And so now you can have an entire library everywhere you go just with the Kindle app. Yeah. And honestly, I love Kindle. I love reading ebooks. I will say, as long as we're talking about different formats, and we'll go deeper in this on a separate video, but just a little teaser for it. I will say that reading physical books, it motivates me to read more because I can physically see my bookmark move, progress through the book, and I'll read it faster. Whereas if I'm just looking at a screen, I'm not feeling that progression. And that's all I'll say about that for right now. But anyways, yeah, have multiple formats, have multiple books in multiple formats. I mean, it's if you feel like you can handle that, and like if you're not going to confuse worlds and stuff like that, give it a shot. See if it works for you.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, try buddy reading. I think that this is a really fun idea because that's what this channel is all about. It's about books with your friends, books with other people, and talking about books and motivating you to read more. I will say this is only like our 3rd video, and I already feel so much more motivated to pick up books and read. Like, I'm at work and all I want to do is come home and read. I don't want to work that day. I don't want to work at all. I just want to come home and read so that I can talk to my friends about books. And so if you can find some friends or a community that is interested in the same books that you are, that's a great resource. It's a great opportunity for you to, the group will decide on books. And
so kind of like, a bunch of girls do book clubs, right?
Right.
But we can kind of do that. Not necessarily do that on here, but if you want to talk to us about a book that you're currently reading and none of your friends read the same type of books that you do, just leave a comment and let us know. Maybe we have read it, maybe we've heard about it, maybe it's something that we will want to read. Yeah, just let this be a community like that for you.
Yeah, I think having a community for anything that you want to accomplish is going to help you accomplish that thing. It's a lot harder to do things alone than it is to do with people alongside you. And reading or doing a buddy reading system or community takes away the decision process. Even if it's reading multiple books and having multiple formats of books, you still have to decide on what books. It just kind of eliminates the idea of having to marry down to one. So with buddy reading, it takes away the decision process of it.
Yeah. And point number 4 is it is okay to DNF a book, which is something that I struggle with because I feel like I started it, I really wanted to like it, and I like almost pushed myself, like forced myself to finish a lot of books. I mentioned it in our first video, but Dune, I did that with Dune. I didn't love it the way that I wanted to. I don't know if it's just because it's older. I'm not really sure. But I have a hard time accepting this and letting myself know it's okay. But Matt brought up a great point to me that why waste your time, like, what did you say, slugging through a book that you're not getting any, if you love reading and you're not having fun reading this book because you're not enjoying it, the same way that you would just not continue watching a TV show or not continue to listen to music that you don't like, why would you do the same thing with a book just because you started it? It's okay to not finish a book and pick up one that you're gonna enjoy and have such a good time reading. And another point that you said was that it's gonna take you a lot longer to get through a book that you don't want to read than a book that you want to read.
Right. And then number 5, our last one, is just start. Just start reading. Just pick up a book. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo if you have to. You know,
Right.
just like you can get like 3 die and roll the dice, and whatever number that is, go to your bookshelf, count it out. That's the book you're gonna read. Unless it's like in the middle of a series, then just go to the first of that series and pick up that series. You know, like if you're just trying to decide on what's the perfect book for me to read right now, you're never going to decide on a book. You're
Right.
you're going to spend, it's the same thing we do with Netflix. We spend longer trying to decide on a show to watch on Netflix than we do actually watching the show. We sit, I'm terrible at this. I will open up Netflix, browse all the shows, and nothing seems interesting to me. I'll open up Hulu, I'll browse all the shows, and nothing seems interesting to me. We open up HBO Max, and we look at everything, and it's just like,
We're not good TV show watchers.
we just choose one, just pick something, you know? And just going back to point 4, if you start reading it and you decide that it's not for you, put it down. You know, nothing is requiring you to read this book. You're reading for fun.
Yeah.
You're reading this for a hobby. Unless you're in school and you have required reading,
Wow.
then you should do your homework. And don't cheat. Don't read the actual play, not just the Spark Notes.
Don't tell your teacher, well, Matt and Shawnee said that I don't have to finish a book if I don't like it. But
Yeah,
don't do that.
do that. Not if your education is at risk. But if you're doing this for fun and you are choosing to read, choose a book that you're going to enjoy. You know, reading is fun. Reading is supposed to, reading fiction anyways, is supposed to transport you into these different worlds and experience these different characters and their points of view and their lives. And man, there are so many stories out there to be read, and trying to decide which one and taking your time deciding is just going to slow you down. And that's not going to, you're going to read less books over time if you're just sitting there trying to decide. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know.
That makes sense. I'm following. I'm tracking.
Okay.
I'm on the same track as you.
Cool. All right. So just to tie this up, number 1 was read multiple books at a time. It's just I love reading multiple books at a time because of the variety, and I don't feel married to a book. And then number 2 was multiple formats. It's so convenient to have books everywhere you go on your phone or your Kindle. It makes it a lot easier to consume stories just because they're always with you.
Yeah.
And number 3, buddy read. Find a community that loves reading and let them choose the books. And you can just you can find the book somewhere, pick it up, start reading with them. Number 4, DNF. It is totally fine to not finish a book. No one is going to require you to finish a book. This is fun. It's not a requirement. And also, finishing a book does not validate you.
Ooh,
You are not validated.
That's a word for somebody today.
You do not get validation by the number of books that you read. And so do not feel like you have to pick up or you have to finish every book that you pick up. It is okay. You will be fine. And number 5, start. Just start reading. Find a book. Just blindfold yourself and point at your bookshelf.
Yeah.
Roll a dice. Flip a coin.
I love the eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Draw a card out of a deck. Somehow,
Randomize it if you have to.
randomize it. Randomizers online, whatever. But you need to find a book. You need to pick up a book. Any book. I don't care what it is. Shawnee doesn't care what it is. We just want you to read. We want you to consume these stories with us. We want to have conversations with you. And most of all, we want you to have fun. This is fun. This is a hobby, and we do this for enjoyment.
Yep.
And so don't let choosing paralyze you so that you can enjoy reading.
I hope this video has encouraged you today. Yeah, thanks for joining us again, and I just hope that you remember to do something fun today.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.